What actually reduces decision fatigue? More self-control, or fewer unnecessary decisions? If decision fatigue refers to the decline in decision quality after repeated acts of choice, then managing it is not simply a matter of trying harder. A more accurate approach is to reduce avoidable cognitive demand before it accumulates. Research in cognitive psychology, executive function, and behavioral science suggests that decision fatigue is managed less through willpower alone and more through structure. By limiting unnecessary choices, protecting mental resources, and designing environments that reduce repeated demands on self-control. The first principle is straightforward. Decision fatigue is mitigated when the total number of decisions is reduced. Not all decisions have the same importance, but many draw on the same executive resources. This is why a series of low-stakes choices can still create noticeable cognitive strain over the course of a day. From this perspective, routines are not simply habits of convenience. They function as a way of preserving cognitive capacity. Standardizing meals, clothing, work sequences, or recurring tasks reduces the number of times the brain must evaluate options. This helps preserve mental energy for decisions that are more complex or consequential. The goal is not to remove choice entirely, but to reduce it where variation offers little meaningful benefit. A second principle concerns timing. Because executive resources are typically stronger before cognitive demand has accumulated, important decisions are often better made earlier rather than later. This helps explain why tasks requiring judgment, planning, or restraint tend to feel more manageable at the beginning of the day and more difficult after many smaller decisions have already been made. The implication is straightforward. Decisions that require the highest level of attention should be made before lower-value choices begin to consume that attention. In this sense, decision fatigue is shaped not only by what you decide, but also by when you decide it. A third strategy is to reduce the number of decisions that need to be made in real time. Behavioral research has shown that default options exert a strong influence on choice. This can occur passively, but it can also be applied deliberately. Pre-commitment is one example. When decisions are made in advance, such as planning meals, setting budgets, scheduling work blocks, or defining personal rules, the need for repeated evaluation later on is reduced. Many poor decisions do not arise from a lack of knowledge, but from being made under conditions of fatigue. Pre-commitment shifts decision-making to a moment when cognitive resources are more available. Decision fatigue is also influenced by the environment in which decisions take place. When attention is repeatedly interrupted, when too many options are presented, or when information is poorly organized, cognitive load increases. As this load increases, the brain becomes more likely to favor low-effort responses. For that reason, managing decision fatigue is partly a matter of environmental design. Simplifying interfaces, limiting visible options, organizing tasks in advance, and reducing unnecessary interruptions all help lower the number of competing demands placed on executive function. Context switching is particularly costly, as each shift in attention requires reorientation, which itself consumes cognitive resources. A well-structured environment does not remove effort entirely, but reduces friction where it serves no useful purpose. Decision-making does not operate independently from physical and psychological condition. Sleep deprivation, prolonged stress, and inadequate recovery impair executive functioning. Breaks, rest, and nutritional stability do not eliminate decision fatigue, but they influence the system on which effective decision-making depends. The quality of a decision reflects both prior cognitive demand and the condition of the person making it. In itself, the process of decision-making is not purely cognitive. It is also shaped by physiological state. All these findings point to a broader conclusion. Managing decision fatigue is not mainly about becoming better at forcing self-control. It is about reducing the frequency with which self-control is required. The more a person depends on repeated effort in a poorly structured environment, the more likely cognitive resources are to become strained. By contrast, routines, defaults, pre-commitments, and well-designed environments reduce the burden placed on executive function from the outset. The most effective way to manage decision fatigue is to reduce unnecessary demands before they accumulate. All that being said, we have to be realistic. Decision fatigue cannot be eliminated entirely because decision-making is an unavoidable part of our daily life. However, it can be managed more effectively once cognitive resources are treated as limited, valuable, and worth protecting. We hope you enjoyed this two-part series explaining decision fatigue. In our first video, we looked at why decision quality tends to decline over time. In this one, the focus has been on what can be done to reduce that decline in practice. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel if you like to learn more things worth knowing.